I expected the human to fail quietly during the entrance exam. Instead, she melted our systems and solved problems the galaxy abandoned decades ago. So let me tell you about the day I realized that 300 years of administrative experience meant absolutely nothing. My name is Course and Val, and I have been the Dean of Admissions at the Zenith Galactic Academy for longer than most species have had interstellar travel. I have seen it all, or so I thought, until the human walked through my door and made me question every single decision I had ever made in my long, distinguished career. The Zenith Galactic Academy, if you are not aware, and you really should be, is the most prestigious educational institution in 7 galaxies. We do not just accept anyone. Our rejection rate hovers around 99.7%. We have produced 214 galactic counselors, 47 scientific revolutionaries, and 1 individual who accidentally created a new form of matter while trying to make coffee. That last one was not supposed to happen, but it still counts as an achievement. Our campus floats in a manufactured pocket dimension, because of course it does. Only the best for the best, right? The buildings are made from crystallized starlight. The libraries contain original text from civilizations that went extinct before most current species evolved. And our cafeteria, and I am not making this up, offers food from 6,000 different worlds. The waiting list even apply is typically 7 years long. So, when the Galactic Council, in their infinite wisdom, decided to implement a cultural diversity initiative that included accepting transfer applications from newly contacted species, let us just say the faculty meeting that followed lasted for days and required mediation from a professional conflict resolution team. Humans. They wanted us to consider humans. Do you know what we knew about humans at that point? They had barely left their own solar system. They still used combustion engines for recreational purposes. Their idea of advanced mathematics included something called calculus that our students learn in primary school. They had wars, actual physical wars over resources they could have simply synthesized. They were, by every measurable standard, adorable little primitives playing with rocks and sticks. But the council insisted. And when the council insists, you smile, you nod, and you prepare to process paperwork for someone who will inevitably fail out within the first semester. The application arrived on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are usually quiet, and I enjoy my quiet. The file was remarkably thin compared to our typical candidates. Ayla Voss, 23 Earth years old, which translated to approximately juvenile status by our standards. Her education from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which sounded like something you would name a facility for teaching children basic shapes. Her test scores were, well, they existed. That is the kindest thing I could say. Her personal essay was exactly 1 sentence long. I like solving problems that other people think are impossible. I actually laughed out loud in my office, alone. My assistant, a very efficient corks the named Brell, poked his head through the door. "Dean Vell, is everything all right?" "Oh, everything is fine," I said, wiping a tear from my eye. Well, one of my eyes anyway. "I am just reading the application from our human transfer candidate. This should be entertaining, if nothing else." Brell's scales shifted to a concerned purple color. "The faculty are already upset about this initiative, Dean Vell. Perhaps we should, I don't know, prepare them." "Prepare them for what? A student who will wash out in 3 weeks? Let them have their fun. They need something to complain about anyway. Keeps them sharp." That was mistake number 2, assuming I knew what was coming. Ayla Voss arrived on campus exactly 1 week later, carrying a single bag and wearing what I can only describe as aggressively casual clothing: fabric pants, a shirt with some kind of faded text on it, and footwear that looked designed for running away from predators. While every other species showed up in formal academic attire or traditional cultural garments, this human looked like she had just rolled out of bed and wandered into one of the galaxy's most elite institutions by accident. The other candidates stared. Whoa, how they stared. There was Zealous, the course-only prince, whose species had mastered quantum physics before developing written language. He looked at Elena like she was a mildly interesting bacteria sample. There was Zarako of Elmeri, whose brain operated in 7 dimensions simultaneously. She actually tilted her head confused, as if trying to process why this creature was even present. There was Tomrix, a crystalline being whose body literally hummed with mathematical precision. He made a sound that I can only describe as a laugh mixed with a scoff. And then there was Elena, completely unbothered, looking around at the crystallized starlight architecture with mild appreciation, the way you might notice a pretty flower on your way to somewhere more important. "Welcome, candidates," I announced from the podium in the grand hall, my voice amplified by harmonic resonators. "You stand in the Zenith Galactic Academy, the pinnacle of education, the summit of academic achievement, the place where the brightest minds in existence come to be forged into something even brighter. Most of you will fail. This is not an insult. This is statistics." Nervous shifting from most of the candidates. Elena yawned. Actually yawned. "The entrance examination will begin in 1 hour. You will be tested on theoretical physics, applied mathematics, spatial reasoning, temporal mechanics, combat efficiency, strategic thinking, and creative problem solving. The examination has a pass rate of 8%. Good luck." As the candidates filed out, I heard whispers. So many whispers. "Did you see the human? I heard they still think in 3 dimensions only. My hatchling has more advanced cognitive development. This is going to be embarrassing to watch." I should have paid attention to Elena's face during those whispers. She was smiling. Not a nervous smile, not an embarrassed smile, but the smile of someone who had heard that kind of talk before and knew exactly how it was going to end. That was mistake number 2, thinking I knew what that smile meant. The entrance examination hall could accommodate 500 candidates comfortably. We had 47. Each station was equipped with holographic interfaces, the quantum processors and adaptive difficulty algorithms designed by the finest educational technologists in the galaxy. The exam would adjust to each candidate's ability level, providing challenges that pushed them to their absolute limit without being impossible. In 300 years, only 2 candidates had ever maxed out the difficulty settings. Elena sat down at Station 33, cracked her knuckles, which made several nearby candidates flinch at the bizarre popping sound human joints apparently make, and said, "All right, let's see what you've got." The exam began, and that is when everything I thought I knew about humans, about Earth, about primitive species, and about my own judgment began to crumble like a sandcastle in front of a tsunami. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened next. The Zenith's entrance examination is not just difficult. Difficult would be an insult to what we have created. This exam has made prodigies weep. It has caused geniuses to question their entire existence. We once had a candidate from Metros Prime, a species with perfect memory and the ability to process information at computer speeds, who finished the examen and then requested psychological counseling. The exam adapts, you see. It learns. The moment you answer a question correctly, it analyzes your methodology, identifies your strengths, and then constructs the next question specifically designed to exploit your weaknesses. It's beautiful, really, in a sadistic way. Section 1 was theoretical physics. Standard stuff, really. Questions about the nature of reality, the mathematics underlying dimensional barriers, the relationship between consciousness and quantum states. You know, light reading material. I watched from the observation deck with the other proctors. We had holographic displays showing each candidate's progress, their stress levels monitored through biometric sensors, their answer patterns analyzed in real time. Zelef, the course-only prince, was performing exactly as expected, brilliant, methodical, approaching each problem with a kind of precision his species was famous for. His display showed green across the board, comfortable, competent, exactly what we wanted to see. Zarako was operating in her usual manner, which has to say her answers appeared almost before the questions finished loading. Seven-dimensional thinking has its advantages. Her biometrics showed barely elevated stress. Excellent. Tom Ricks was humming, literally humming as he worked. Mathematical harmonics resonated through his crystalline structure. Each answer produced a different tone. It was actually quite pleasant. And then there was Elena, at Station 33. Her biometrics were, well, they were weird. Her heart rate, and yes, humans apparently only have one heart, which seems terribly inefficient, was barely elevated. Her brain activity showed patterns our sensors weren't quite sure how to interpret, and she was moving through questions at a pace that seemed frankly reckless. "She's guessing," said Proctor Yilmaz, a six-armed Texaron who had